Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome everyone. The Rescue Our Future Foundation is welcomes all of you to this dialogue on the reset to rescue our future. We are pleased to host this open forum for a peer-to-peer meeting that will allow people from all continents to share their thoughts on this precarious state of our species and ways to rescue our future. My name is Reynolds Lang, and I have placed the agenda for you in the chat right now, where we'll have an introduction shortly after this, starting by Glenn. And for 2 hours, we will discuss in an open and respectful dialogue what matters so much to all of us, a livable and peaceful planet for us and the generations to come. This dialogue arose from a post on LinkedIn, and it's so many comments. So before we open the floor for your thoughts, let me invite Glenn for a brief introductory statement.
Okay. So welcome everybody. Good morning, participants from the Americas. Good afternoon, Europe and Africa, and a pleasant late evening in Asia. It is encouraging. It's encouraging to see so many busy people from all continents giving priority to this dialogue. I check my camera, yes. This is a sign that the positive magnetism can attract diverse people who each in their own way can contribute to a better place, a better future. We can feel fine in a world that is not fine because we do what we can to make Earth a decent place. Let me therefore welcome you to this joyful dialogue. Different from many somber gatherings about growing existential problems that threat humanity. Yes, we know that humanity has born in a nice place and made a mess out of it. We have become a liability for evolution. And we do not need more proof that humanity is on autopilot to extinction. So the goal of this meeting is not to complain about how bad the world is, but to emphasize how good it can be and what actions we can take. Before we open the floor to your thoughts, let me make a couple of brief comments on the structure of the dialogue around three themes: our precarious state, the ways forward, and the action to be taken. We are in a precarious state. Humanity has been tampering dangerously with the exceptional conditions that made life on Earth possible. Human extinction, once the stuff of science fiction, has gone from being a doomsday hypothesis to a terrifying concern that science, politics, and society can no longer avoid. For 50 years, we have tolerated a system that violated three fundamental laws of evolution. One, life seeks more life, but reckless human actions have put life in mortal danger. Two, grow to maturity and then stop growing, but we have opted for the cancer of perpetual growth. Three, live in harmony with nature, but anthropocentrism, the belief that humanity is the purpose of the universe, has disconnected us from the logic of evolution and is drowning us in a dangerous cosmic solitude. We need to reset. before evolution activates its immune system to get rid of a dangerous anomaly. From the point of view of evolution, which constantly calibrates balance and harmony, humans are extraterrestrials. To the rest of the animal world, we are aliens. If they could write our biography, they would probably title it The Survival of the Filthiest. What can you do about it? As we sleepwalk to extinction, we urgently need to find a way out. But today's dominant system poses an obstacle with sophisticated tools of system maintenance. Domination always triggers natural resistance of its victims. It can only survive by blaming the victims and imposing false narratives on them that paralyze transformative action and obscure their consciousness and worldview. For that, the system uses a crude mix of persuasion through induced consent and dissuasion through repression. We have had no answer. And that is the main reason why we have been losing the battle for peace and the environment in the last 50 years. Instead of embarking on transformation, we fell prey to discourses that recruited us to give a lifeline to a system for which the only beauty of nature is its monetary value. And development is about processing nature into bank accounts. We have given in to system maintenance tricks, such as greening greed with clean energy for a dirty system, recycling the ever-increasing waste that is the main product of humanity in the form of perpetual growth, and justifying war as the guardian angel of peace. We have tolerated the current system and its reckless elites, naively believing that those who are destroying our future would be sensitive to our calls for self-destructive reform of the system that feeds on our misfortunes. Today, we can make the balance. Half a century of benefit of doubt has left no doubt about the lack of benefit. The reason we have been losing the battle for a better world for 50 years is that we have backed on the self-reform of the system. Cynically, many continue to insist that we must compromise with the system because we can do nothing about our problems if we do not have political power, military power, economic power, money, communication, power and control of the anti-social media, I would call them. Today, they form the backbone of these institutions, of the harmful system that will never eliminate its own backbone unless it wants to commit suicide. What does that all mean? It means, and we have to let it sink in, that the transformation will not come from within the system. It will be extra-systemic. But to co-opt us for its ends, the system exhibits its unchallenged power and advises us to be pragmatic by telling us that you can't beat them, join them. To be pragmatic is not a wise advice because it is a form of surrender. A pragmatic slave is an eternal slave. So we have been looking for a needle in the wrong haystack. There is no solution from within the system and its system maintenance institutions, such as a predatory economic system, mainstream science, fundamentalist religion, partisan politics, privatized media, and a controlled educational system. There is no scientific or technological solution to anthropocentrism, which is the root of our problems. The solution is extra-systemic. And the only social force I could identify capable of rescuing our future is the moral resource of humanity. Simple people, people like we. We need an urgent research with action now. Not because we have run out of options, but because we are running out of time. The moral resource of humanity, people like us here, will stop being co-opted by the system as bystanders and must galvanize into a powerful transformative force capable of rehumanizing a dehumanized humanity. Otherwise, the alternative will be extinction. My final point is that dialogue is not about finding consensus, but about finding common ground for transformative action. The solution will not come from debates between rival groups, typically to claim leadership, authorship, and or control, as we see so often, even in the finest non-governmental organizations. We are on a difficult quest in which nothing is set in stone and no one has the truth. There is a beautiful emblematic form of dialogue, and that is symbiosis in evolution, which is the primary vehicle for bringing harmony and balance in a sea of diversity. That's the most beautiful form of dialogue. Differences have not prevented us from coming together in this thoughtful dialogue. It is a sign that we refuse to remain spectators of our own downfall. Only by bringing together the positive vibrations and ideas of those who care about our rescue can we become the architect of our own history. Debates, rivalries, and confrontation will not bring the necessary harmony if we do not learn to live together. We will die together. Dialogue such as the one we are having now is not about compromising our principles or losing autonomy, but about finding, as I said, common grounds for cross-fertilization of ideas to draw inspiration from insights, irrefutable arguments, and valuable experiences of others. We should become a powerful voice to rescue our future and shape a better version of humanity by merging many eyes into an unbeatable we. Our main tool for that is dialogue, like the one we start now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you very much for your introductory statement. And I wrote down a couple of them, very strong as usual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first one I had is, how good can this world be? And what action should be taken? Which means now the floor is open for our dialogue, the main reason why we are here. And I want to ask you to, in one sentence, 1 or 2 sentences, you just tell short when you have a statement or you want to do a comment. Give me a brief of your background, just your name, and then just a short brief of your background, so we can start the discussion, because we are now with 22 person in this meeting. So I guess it will be good to keep it to a 1 or 2 minute introduction remarks. Anyone, the floor is open.
So is it just the introduction first?
Yes, no, you can just mention your name and where you're from and what organization
Yeah.
you're representing, and then short your remarks on this topic for today.
The first
Yeah.
point,
So,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Hi all. This is Mamta Anurag. I have about 15 years of experience in telecom industry, but I associate myself more as a sustainability enthusiast, and I pride in calling myself an earth advocate. So that's my introduction. I'm from India, by the way, specifically from Hyderabad. So with that, I would like to share my statement. Can I go ahead, Renald, and share my statement, my thoughts here?
Oh yes, you have you want to the screen share, you mean?
no,
No, nothing. I just wanted to know if we can go ahead and share our
Oh
thoughts right
yes.
away, or is it the introduction of all people?
No, it's not the introduction.
Yeah.
Anybody has a
Okay.
statement based on team
Okay.
number one. We are now starting with the team one, which is our
Yes.
precarious state, and then based on that you can give us
Okay.
your comment.
I'll be part of team three, actually. I would like to share my thoughts as part of team three, so maybe I'll wait for my chance then.
Okay, very well.
Yeah.
Anyone? Because we will take about 30 minutes to talk about how are we losing the battle for a better world, and how can we overcome this standstill, as Glenn mentioned. And I put it in the chat already again for everybody to see. We have three sections, and team number one will be where are we standing now? What are we facing? What are we looking at? As Glenn mentioned, we're not going to talk about how bad the world is. We already know how it is. The thing is, how good can it be? And what action do we need? Because we are in the state of action. As I commented also on Glenn, his post on LinkedIn, action is the best prediction. So that's why we went so fast into this mode now and organized this meeting to talk about actions. Okay, so anyone, first remarks, what comes into your mind, what Glenn said, or what the post was on LinkedIn?
Hi, I'll go.
Yeah.
Jenny here from County Durham in northeast England. I am a retired.
Hello.
I'm a retired medical doctor.
You sound good.
Yeah, can you hear me? All right. Yeah, good.
Yes, loud and clear.
Someone else was speaking, just confused me there. Yes, I'm a retired medical doctor and now vegan fruit farmer with a regenerative vegan fruit farm. Regenerated off old arable farmland. The experience of developing that from scratch, founded in 2011, has brought me very close connection with nature, which I had already, but not nearly as conscious, I think. And on the farm, I've set up the School of Sustainable Living and Wellbeing, where I teach any age of human to reconnect with nature, to try and respect and understand our place within nature as opposed to separate from it. And I do that with school children, with grown adults, by a number of different means. It's challenging to reach enough people in the short time that we have, but education and reconnection with nature would seem to be, to me, the way forward. If people don't respect and understand nature, then there is, I don't think, much hope of getting a change in behaviours which have been so solidly placed upon people over the last, as Glenn said, the last 50 years. During my life, things have got worse, not better. And people, when I was young, were campaigning for much the same things we're campaigning for today. But clearly we haven't been effective. So we need to think again how to do that. But really, education is one way, trying to spread the message to everybody through our actions, lead by example. We just need enough people to be doing the same thing all over the world to make a sea change. I suppose every ripple could join to be a giant wave and then a tsunami, but whether we can do that in time is the question. Anyway, shut up and move on.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Very welcome. And I like what you said about spreading it through education. I favor that also. We're gonna go now to Judith. Judith raised her hand just now. Judith?
Yes, thank you. My name is Judy Schwartz. I'm a journalist. I live in Vermont, the state of Vermont in the United States, and I have written 3 books on basically variations, well, a book on soil, a book on water, and a book on the growing global ecosystem restoration movement. So I've had the wonderful opportunity to observe earth healing, human transformation, and get a sense of all the solutions that we, don't always talk about. And I guess that's where my statement comes from. First of all, I speak with, sorry, it popped up that I'm speaking Spanish. I don't think so. Anyway, I speak with humility because I know that my country is the source, or, kind of, pushes so many of the trends that are problematic for us. So I just know that I acknowledge that, but that, that's where I'm from. I'm here. But I would say my comment is very simple, and that is that we can make tremendous change merely by asking the question that you raised, which is, how good could it be? Because when we focus so much on how bad can it be, that in itself raises anxiety, stimulates fear, and kind of reifies the path that we're taking. Once we shift and open our imagination to what's possible, then we see, when we look at from a standpoint of abundance of all the possibilities, as opposed to scarcity, all that we've lost and what we don't have, then that invites a mental shift. And I would say, and I believe that's what Glenn's statement was getting towards, that it's a shift in consciousness that will allow for the changes that we long for. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Who wants to comment on this or have another response? I saw Jacob did something special, a piece of evidence to support this claim. Jacob?
Yeah, no, I just, I was responding to Jenny's comment about how, not many changed. A lot of the conversations that we had 60 people were having 60 years ago, we're still having today. And I think it's really interesting. I think that we have been in a precarious state, and I feel like there is somewhat of a collective awakening, and I feel like there is an awareness that we need to do something, and the only something is by coming together and coming together as community. And I think that awareness that I see is growing in my area, and I'm based in Texas right now. But in other parts of the world, I feel like that is a sign that we are starting to take the steps towards growth and prosperity and really, unity. And so I feel that the precarious state that we have been in for a long time, people have grown tired of that, and they want to know how good it can be. And I totally agree with the comments made about, switching the reference from how bad it can be. If we want to garner the support, because probably all of us, like, are using an American phrase, like, we're preaching to the choir, we're all on board, we're all aligned in some form or fashion, but we need to get those people that are, like, for climate, they're concerned but not active, and start to get those people that are sort of along the border, and you have to bring in hope and belief that it can happen. I feel like to get that support and then further cause those ripples. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a raised hand by Mwangi. Welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. Mwangi Derito, coming from Nairobi, Kenya. And one of the things that we've been looking at, because I'm in agribusiness and environmental governance, is one of the things that we really need to change is our food systems. We have been colonized or dominated by three things. Number one, when you go to grains, we only think of corn, wheat, and unfortunately, we've been addicted to cane sugar, which actually, even according to the health people, is dangerous. When you go to the tubers, we've been addicted to potatoes or the Irish potatoes. But when you look at the spectrum of the other things that you should be looking at, is that we are having a lot of many varieties of things that we can do, but they've not yet been really actualized. Because like if you can look at the side of the grains, we have grains that are more better adapted to climate change, like sorghum and millets. We also have like the teff in Ethiopia, but this has not been taken so much because it does not favor the monopolies of the big multinationals. Then when you look at other tubers like cassava, sweet potatoes, yucca, and the others, they've also not been embraced, and even the research that is being done on them have not really been so much because it's not favored by the multinationals who are making super profits from the other crops. So one of the things that should help this set and make a better future is increasing the food diversity and also increasing the options that people have. And this comes to the issues of post-harvest operations, and also issues to do with how many other recipes are there with other crops other than just relying on the main ones that are known. Because like when you go to wheat and corn, these are the dominant ones, but there are others that also have great value, but they've been ignored because they're not really being so much emphasized or marketed. And when you look at the environmental footprint of some of these grains we're talking about, some of them are using a lot of synthetic inputs, such as fertilizers and pesticides. And the environmental footprint of them in some areas is really devastating the soil and even far beyond, because some of these pollutants are being carried to the oceans and other water bodies. So one of the things that needs to be done is, one, reduce the monoculture and also reduce some of these grains from being the dominant ones, so that once you have a mix, you also have better resilient systems and also better livelihoods. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mwangi. I'm still processing a lot about what you just said, and I'm connecting all the dots between Judith, Jacob, Jenny, and it's wonderful where we're going. Dee, I see you raise your hand. You're next.
Hello guys, how are you? My name is Dee and I'm from Uganda. I live in Entebbe. Entebbe is near the capital city of Kampala. I am a communications consultant and a writer. I have a lot of interest in nature, and I'm very happy to be part of this discussion. The question was asked of how good could this world be? But I would also like to ask, how did we get to the undesirable situation that we are trying to change? And I like the mention of the reality that we are having controlled education that was mentioned, commercialized media and stuff like that. You could also add a lot of politicization, having the politicians leading the show. And these are very powerful forces that have detracted us from taking the direction of the world we desire. And these forces are very powerful. They have the resources to divert human minds and focus. So how much can we as a group, like for us who have come together, how much could we do to counter these powerful forces? In my view, each one of us could do something, and I would like to suggest that the best approach for us would be to live by example. Once we define the kind of world we'd like to see, each one of us should make, some input that others could look at and borrow a leaf, because it would be difficult to struggle with the forces that have led us to where we are. My submission.
Okay, thank you very much, Dee. I have Maria Elena. She's ready. So next, Maria.
Good morning. My name is Maria Elena, sorry. I am an environmental lawyer and public administrator. I work for United Nations right now, and also for an organization that is named Sustainable Legacy. What I think that what we are trying to do in Sustainable Legacy is we don't know if we are going to survive, but at least what we are meant to be is to be the best of humankind. And in that sense, I think what we need to do is to identify those moral reserves that have the power to influence and move humanity toward rescuing our future. How can we do this? I think that we have to go back to our humanity and think what have moved humanity to the best of what we are through civilization. Humankind had made great things, and I think we have to recognize what is the best of humankind, and how can we mobilize the best of us. And I think Glenn said that we need to move this humankind through positive vibrations, and also through the only way that we can do to communicate, that is narrative action that inspires, that moves and persuades to become a moral reserve, first of all. Secondly, we need to join a movement throughout the world to a sustainable legacy. What I meant for a sustainable legacy is to bring the best practices that have made that trying to contribute to put together all our best knowledge, for how to act and transform through, for example, new policies. Policies have been great. Is the only way that we can move together new nations. New nations. I mean, and not the United Nations that we have right now, but new United Nations. See, we need sustainable nations. That means I am making a constitution for Mexico, and I believe that we are one of the, well, nobody knows, well, not nobody, but most of all in Mexico, we don't know that we have a guarantee for a sustainable development in Mexico. So we have to start to guarantee those rights. Secondly, I think that we have to act in territory, in our in the places where we live, and to have sustainable ways of life. And that means that we need to bring together those moral reserves in our communities. I also have here in my community, we also have rules, and we try to bring together those best practices to keep our trees, to make our governments accountable for a sustainable world. And I think that's, for me, I think that's the resuming, it's the first step that we need to take is to identify these moral reserves in order to start action through a new way of having harmony with nature. And last, I think, is that we need to do a systemic good in a basic system. This means that we need to go, what I say, back to basics to live in harmony with the laws of nature. Because as a lawyer, that we know science, I think that humanity has have very good evolution when we take in account what is nature and the universe. Right now, we have the science to know that we need to act in harmony with nature. So we need laws that are in harmony with nature. Thank you.
Wonderful, Maria. Wonderful. We have about 6 more minutes for this topic number 1, which is our precarious state. And I like so much what you just said, Maria. I cannot even repeat it, but I wrote everything down. And I wanted to give Mamata the chance, and then after that we have Kitty. So let's keep it like 2 to 3 minutes a person.
Okay, so I would like to speak about action is the best prediction. I would like to speak on that topic. Granted, we are in a very precarious state. Granted, there needs to be behavioral change. Granted, we need to shift our way of thinking and we need to shift our systems. But I think the point to begin with is that we need a crackdown on the means of production. The way consumerism is being fostered by capitalism, we are producing giant load of goods and services day in and day out, and we are exhausting resources of both the planet and the society 24/7. So we need to basically start with changing our means of production and then adjust our means of consumption. And I think the only way to go is the governments need to actually take this responsibility. It's not something that a few people can take this power into their hands and start changing the way things are operating in the world, because our systems are broken. So expecting that we as individuals could change the world is like building castles on the shore of the ocean and then not expecting the ocean waters to wash away those castles. It's not possible. We are a population of 8.1 billion and counting. The systems are different and we are not operating the systems. So it is the governments who should rise up to their power and responsibilities and crack down on the means of production. But we as individuals could do something to mount pressure on the governments, is my take at it, which means that we need a hybrid of socialism and capitalism, or rather a heavily regulated capitalism. That is what is the first thing to do according to me. And the second thing would be we need to repair our ecosystems. We need to reverse the damage that has been done so far. We need to repair our oceans, rivers, waterlands, air, and soil. And this is not something individuals could do, because we could still do it, but it's just a very minuscule work that we could do. Only if the government step in and take up these things as their own responsibilities, these things can be changed. Because the way they are proceeding, the way they are progressing now at an unprecedented rate, if governments don't step in, we as individuals will lose the battle. So there needs to be a collective force to get this change done. So what I feel is we definitely need an extra systemic transformation. Definitely we from within ourselves can't change everything, but then at the end of the day, that extra systemic transformation will definitely result in a change from within. a shift in our consciousness, and that is how the means of consumption will change. Our behavioral systems will change. Unless the means of production change, the consumption won't change. It's like expecting people to exercise their human discretion. When there's a lavish meal, you can't expect people to eat very little and eat consciously. So the lavish meal should change. So the resource exploitation has to change. So that's my take at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mamatha. I'll shift quickly over to Kitty. Kitty is the next one. I guess she lowered her hand. Maybe she's holding her comment. Let's go to Alexander and then Jenny. Oh, Kitty's coming back? Yes, Alexander. Kitty, your speaker is, your mic is off. Sorry.
Here, yeah, there we go.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
Alexander, yes.
Yes. Hi again, everyone. I'm so happy and very comfortable to be amongst you. I am coming from Suriname, the greenest country on earth. So from that perspective, I definitely align with a lot of the back to nature, harmony with nature notions. My most previous occupation, I've been a representative of my government. I've been the ambassador to the United Nations at the headquarters in New York for quite a long time, and I'm currently privately established as a consultant. So my perspective, my expertise, I think, comes more from that territory, geopolitical view, but also at the same time looking at everything that addresses governance and the peoples that are governed. And one thing I think for today I would like to highlight is that I think, and this is not a new issue, not a new notion that has been recently highlighted again, is that we as citizens of the world, we need security. And that's two components. We need security on the one hand, and on the other hand, we need to share the security that we all need. And only in that way, I think we can survive on a healthy planet. And what is security? In all manner of sectors, we need security in food and water access. In shelter, we need to have secure energy sources. Our trade patterns, trade routes need to be secure. Science and technology that we're all working on, we should share that so that we can use it to the best of its potential. Security against disasters, but above all, of course, security against each other, both on Earth and in space. And I think specifically in the last 2 years, we've seen that breaking down, the security in certain areas of the planet. So I think if mankind keeps shared security as a deliberate mantra, then the habitat that we shape will surely change for the better. And there are some things I think that give hope for such change. We are definitely seeing that most of all the underlying paradigms are already shifting. For the first time, actually, in 77 years, we see the halt in a destruction of the security paradigm in Europe with the onset of the Ukraine war. We see a rise in certain African countries against the continued colonialism, conveniently called neo-colonialism, but it is still colonialism. And for the first time, we see an effective rise against that in some northern Western African countries. Most of all, also, we see a rupture in the global financial structures, the systems. And I think very importantly, we see already breaks in the control of the information space, through social media. So I think all these things give us hope. Another important part that gives hope also is the technological advance that humanity makes, which makes all the processes, all the different processes are accelerating. And we need to make, in terms of taking action, I think the first thing we should do is to reconnect, to cooperate at every level. New levels, some of you have mentioned, may be necessary, but definitely only when we connect in different ways, in small ways, in big ways. But if we keep, persistent on working together, and we see the farmers, for instance, have been doing that for a couple of years, and I think they have reached already some positive results. Not enough, yes, but if we keep that in mind, what should we be doing together on the planet, and how? By sharing. I think we're on the right side of history. So far, my comments. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kitty. We have still Alexander and Jenny, and about 2 more minutes before we
I'll try to keep it
next.
short. Thank you for having me. I try to connect what Glenn, Judith, Mwangi, and Mamata said. First, it's about an extra systemic solution, meaning that we have to define what actually the major characteristics of the systems we're living in are. And so we shifted like 40, 50 years ago from industrial capitalism towards rentier financial capitalism that is not seeking to produce any value, but just to extract rent from the system. So this has accelerated the destruction of nature and the destruction of society. Just leave it at this. Then, to comment on Judith, she said that we need to look from the standpoint of abundance, and she's so right with it, because like the modern monetary theory shows us that we actually can afford what we can do within the limits of the biosphere. And what we are told every day is there is no money. And especially for the countries in development, or the underdeveloped countries that have been underdeveloped by the system, it's so important to understand that there are means to grow, to have food and energy sovereignty, to grow within their own currency, and to get free of the slavery that is imposed by international organizations like the World Bank and the IMF. Mwangi said that is so important to have the original crops. And like, according to the OECD, Africa is importing 86% of its food. We're always talking about food security, but it's not about food security. Food security is meaning to keep them in a debt trap and to import, to go on importing Western crops. So the World Bank was created just to impose these policies. And so we need to understand what is the historical background, what we are up against, and then we need to act from that standpoint. Thanks.
Wonderful, Alexander. I already see, and I'm feeling it also, that we're fluidly going into team number 2 already, which is part of your comment and even the previous one. So I'm already suggesting that Leslie and Jenny are the next one. That we're already mixing team number 2 because we are in time. We are already past the 30 minutes for the team 1. So we're going into team number 2, and I already put it in the chat, the pathways to a solution. And I'm hearing a lot of points from Kitty and everybody before who already touched points, some pathways for solutions, which is working together, collaboration, make sure. Maria also said it very well. Let's make sure. So I'm giving the mic to Jenny and then Leslie.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to just pull some things together from what other people have said, from Wangi about food and agriculture, and from Alex about freeing ourselves from the slavery and having security, which is what Kitty said as well. What I feel and what I promote in everything I try and do is to move people from dependence on the systems that keep us trapped as slaves and keep us doing all the wrong things in our lives, towards self-reliance. And part of that self-reliance is to identify what we can do, what the abundance is actually around us in our lives that is very inexpensive or largely free to us. So if we learn, for example, to forage for food, growing wild, then we are less reliant on other people producing our food, and we have therefore better security over our own food supply. And going back to what Wangi said about needing food diversity, I completely agree. We're growing way too few things to eat. And I'm talking plants here because I don't believe we should waste energy and resources on taking our plants, which are perfectly good food, through an animal first. That's very, very inefficient way of growing food. We should just eat the plants, and we should learn to eat many more plants. And most people who do move towards eating plant-based or vegan diets do actually increase the range of foods in their diet, although still, if we're dependent on other people to grow it and supply it to us, it's going to be quite limited in range. But I completely agree. We should have smaller, more local food systems that grow a huge diversity of the crops that grow properly in our area. We should learn to become seasonal with our own climate wherever we live, and to acknowledge and appreciate and value our food. Our food has become so undervalued that we don't really respect or care about it. We waste at least a third of what we grow, which is completely pointless and wasteful. So we need to think more diverse food, diverse crops. We need to take the power back from the few people who actually own all of the seed crops that everyone in the world grows, and cover them with pesticides and chemicals and hormones that we don't really want to ingest as well. So I completely agree with Mwangi. We need to completely change the farming system. I'm doing that here on a very small scale, and I'm trying to engage with our Department of Food and Rural Affairs and other other farmers, other agricultural bodies. There's quite a lot of people working as we all are, trying to change things little by little. I think Mamata said we can't necessarily change the world as individuals, but we can certainly start a ripple of a change as individuals, and we can encourage more individuals to join and do the same as us. So completely agree. We need to connect with others in order to do that. So lots of things that lots of people have said, totally support, but we need to move fundamentally from our dependence on the system and find our own self-reliance apart from the system. The system is very powerful. It's also very controlled by all of the few powerful individuals across the world who basically define everything that we do, everything we can access and everything we can eat. And that needs to change. And we can, I believe, change it. If we stop buying all the stuff that we don't need, then there'll be no need to produce it anymore, and these businesses will go out of business. So thank you.
Good thinking. Thank you. Leslie and then Erica. Leslie, are you ready? I have to unmute you and I see that you're Leslie. Do you hear me? Yes, now you're ready.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, wonderful.
Okay, thank you. My name is Les Behrens. I'm from Tennessee, the United States. And I wholeheartedly agree with what Jenny was just talking about, that, basically, if we wait for the government to do what needs to be done, it's going to be a long, long slug. But if we, as individuals, can start practicing what we know we need to do, then I think, bit by bit, if we can get, the majority of the world's population to live within the limits, then I think we can make a lot of progress. But it's just like today, we've got 23 people that are here talking about what needs to be done. And there's 8 billion people out there that, we have no way of really contacting. A little bit about my background. I'm a retired scientist, worked 15 years in aquaculture type sciences. And then the last 15 years, I worked in constructed wetlands for wastewater treatment. And I'm a big believer in that we need to do wastewater treatment completely different than we're doing it now, with these centralized systems that basically are treating millions of gallons of water a minute, but they're only treating it marginally and then discharging it into the rivers, which then are discharged into the oceans. And we've got, these dead zones all over the world now from the processes that we've used over the last 100 years for treating wastewater. And so I've got a lot of information that I'd like to share, either in terms of contacting people on LinkedIn or however, and share the information that I've been able to put together on constructed wetlands for wastewater treatment. And I'm optimistic about what can be done, and I'm pessimistic about the powers that be. In the United States, we spend almost $1 trillion a year on military.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could, divert that to doing things that need to be done to save the earth rather than wars, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but that's kind of my thoughts, that we have all of the tools. We have all the tools we need to save the earth, but we don't have the money or the resources or the leadership to get it done. And so I go back to what Jenny said, we need to learn how to be self-sufficient. I personally do aquaponics, food forests. I'm lucky in that I own some land. I own 11 acres of land, so I can produce all of my own energy, all of my own food. I collect rainwater, and not everybody can do that, I know, but we all have to do what we can do. And those are my short comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Very well. Very inspiring, and we can learn how to cooperate. I see a question. Before I go to Erica, could we create a LinkedIn group, a common group about this topic? I guess yes. I'll still have to check with Glenn about this. But this whole group, and Glenn has the whole list of names and people we have to connect. And we have so many good contributions right now already coming in. So we are heading to a very good start. Erica, then Jacob.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Smith. I'm forever blessed. That's the influencer name that I go by. I hope that everyone here is having a blessed day. It's really nice to meet everyone and get to be a part of this. I'm from Florida, North Florida in the USA. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly. Perfect.
Good. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm from North Florida. I'm a single widowed mom of a little boy. And 2 months after he was born, my husband passed away. And I mention those two things because those two things kind of in combination together really sent me on this journey to introspection, contemplation about my values and how I want to raise my son, but also how I want to live the rest of my life. And I just could not come to terms with our current culture being, the best that we can do, or the best that, I could live my life. So I was reading the Bible. I come from a worldview of, believing in Christ. But through reading the Bible, I started seeing scriptures about having a good conscience and, living by your conscience. And so that's what I've tried to do. And through doing that, I started looking for alternative lifestyles. And I started finding intentional communities and communes where people are purposely living together in effort to, live more environmentally friendly, to, combat some of the social issues that we're facing. And to me, these are kind of the best models that I have seen for, how we can duplicate things on a larger scale. In these type of communities, people are, they have meetings to discuss whatever issues they're having on smaller scales. And, they're living close to the land, they're doing their own gardens. They're sharing more, so there's less waste. I'm not very good at going over all the things that I see there, but I just think it's a really great model for how we can do things on a larger scale. And so I started a journal last year. I'm not really qualified, but I just started writing and had good feedback and response. So I've kept it going. And the journal, I wanted to kind of share the things that I've seen and share the stories that have given me hope. Seeing the deserts go from, famine to being greened, and these communities that are, really putting in the effort to make the world a better place. So those are the type of places that I'm trying to cover in my articles, as well as some of the other issues that we're facing both environmentally and sociological.
Erika, thank you very much. You're now reminding us of what Leslie just said, that we are 23 people in this group today at this moment talking about a quest. We are looking for a quest. And you show us how every one of us are bringing things to the table that we can add up to make this group a starting point of something big and something new. Wonderful. Jacob.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And Erica, thank you for sharing your story. I think that challenges and being in really uncomfortable and challenging situations in life really help you to look outward and see more clearly. And so thank you for opening up and sharing that. I'm thinking about, pathways to a solution. I'm a firm believer, after learning about this methodology, in this idea of emergent impact, and goes back to what Kitty was talking about. We can't come with or put the pressure on our shoulders that we feel like we need to come with a solution. And that if we instead come together and have conversations and interview and really outline, as I said in the chat, I think, whatever ecosystem you're exploring as a community and how each part is connected to each other, how we're all connected, how everyone can see their lives, their work in other people's. It's like an ecosystem in nature. If you remove one organism from that ecosystem, it could cause collapse. And I think some people, it sort of is tied to that, siloed society. We often don't look outside of our own worlds to see how our decisions and this and that can impact others, and that can be a way to bond once you find those connections and you can all see those connections. Then solutions, I feel like, can emerge. And I want to touch base on something that Les brought up, and how do we scale thought? How do we scale this type of discussion and these thoughts that we have in this room and others that are not here have to every corner of the world? And I feel like as much as technology can really act as a way to help scale thought. And so my colleague Ariel and I have had many conversations about AI technology, and it's a balance. There's the good and the bad. You need to be aware of it, but there's ways that you can harness that technology to create really a focused approach. So like Les, you could make a less GPT where your knowledge of how to construct wetlands for wastewater treatment can be explored by people in all corners of the world and be dug into deeper, like and improved as learning models become improved. And so I think that there's a way to, and you have to, I feel like we have to embrace technology as a way to scale thought, to be able to reach more people and bring more awareness and information. So that's sort of, I'll keep rambling, but I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you very much. Point taken. And Ingo and Sandra, you're the next two on the line.
Yeah, short introduction. My name is Ingo. I'm from Germany, and I worked with sustainability topics since 35 years, in the last years in universities and with youth and adults before. And my experience was that the most effective way to do extra systemic work from within the system was using art. That worked wonderfully fine. So one moment that really changed a lot in a very short time was working on an island with the youth on sustainability. And then we had a 3-afternoon project where they collected the garbage and made a model of the island to represent all the tourists, what was really going on. And it was called The Real Youth. And that was so much fun, because with the outcome of that project, it was a large piece of art. I could explain anybody who saw, well, it's just wonderful vacation within 10 minutes from 8 years to 80 years, that there are really a lot of problems with all the garbage and the resource flows in and out. And finally, making the bridge to what can we do to preserve the ocean, protect phytoplankton in 10 minutes. And it was really cool. So that was for me one moment where it worked on a local basis. And on the international basis, we had the Documenta 15, which is the largest every 5-year art exhibition on modern art, 2 years ago in Kassel. And they had groups from artists from all over the world, from the Caribbean, from Africa, from Asia, lots from Europe. But those from the colonial, from the states that were still working on what did the colonial times made with them and finding creative paths out of that. They were so wonderful creative with not much money, but they changed a lot. And I experienced a whole city with the cheapest exhibition in all the 60 years that happened there, that the whole city had a new atmosphere, a new energy, lots of positive vibes in the worker quarters with not much money, but a whole new idea. Going back to lots of things that were mentioned here, new aquaponics, self-reliant agriculture, and things like that. That was good. That was something that gave me a lot of hope. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ingo. We are heading on to Sandra.
Yes, hi everyone. I just have a couple of thoughts to share with you. To me, like the root of the change needs to be in what I call re-indigenation of the land. So basically, indigenous people have been, living with nature as a keystone species. We've been making sure all the ecosystem is taken care of, and everybody is, taking care of. The water is clean for everyone. There's food for everyone. And the way I see this happening would be like through creating communities locally that share a land, like bringing back the land to the commons and reintegrating nature, becoming again the keystone species that we are supposed to be. This is how we were. So we do need a transition fund. Like we cannot just get out of the system and the way it works. So we would need to be able to fund, but I'm sure we can find the funding for this kind of projects because, especially in the global south, where with less money we can have a higher impact. And I know of some initiatives happening. So, like basically, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud now. I thought of something that maybe we can have a council for the earth, like bringing all these people doing different things, like very good things, and working kind of in isolation, and just come all together in service of the earth. And I don't know. It's maybe a longer discussion, but this is like what I would like to contribute to today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. You see, we are not running out of options, but we are running out of time. That's what Glenn said in his introduction speech. And I hope now to hear from him or anybody else. Otherwise, we just have the last team, which is the final one on our agenda. And the last one, I just have to scroll back upstairs because I have it in the chat. But I'm going to copy it for you guys. Because we are not running out of options, but we are running out of time. And I like the contributions for everybody, just to see what now the last team, number 3, is action is the best prediction. That's what also is in the LinkedIn post. What action do we need to do right now, from today, as we already are being inspired by everyone here? We have a lot of options. People are doing it already. People have the knowledge. We have the connections, we have the followers, we have the technology, we have everything. Money is often not a problem. I guess it's more about leadership. How do you bring this action into the best prediction? I have to put it in the chat so you guys can have the last final team before we go over to the conclusion by Glenn and Case. So Father Ted, you're the next one.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm honored to be here. I have heard a lot. I have learned a lot. When you come late, in most cases, you try to get what is the discussion is all about. And I know you have had previous meetings like this. But again, I wasn't there, but everything sounded so familiar because I've known Glenn for a long for almost a year or two during the COVID. That was the time. That's why I wanted to get a grip of what is being discussed. And at the same time, they were sounding very familiar. Building the moral reserve of the society and getting us do what we can do at our individual level is good. But remember, we are looking for a better society, a better world is possible. That's the way I look at it. It connects everything, politics, food, economy, and everything. And again, I work in John Paul II Justice and Peace Center, Kampala. And things get easier when I just balance it on the issue of justice, just, unjust. You see, is it just or is it unjust? Is it good or is it not good? Is it moral or not moral? Something like that. So things get easier for me that way. And how do we put the whole thing, especially, and I would say talk like an African in this case. Let's look at, we call it colonialism or neocolonialism. What is happening in Africa and the how do I put it? The paper that the actions of France, for example, in countries of Africa, that is asphyxiating millions of people. Do we have to solve it by just, because sometimes the way we are talking, I felt like, okay, this is a group of spiritual internalization, holy living, moral living, so that we die, we go to heaven, depending on who people's religious or non-religious affiliations. But I don't think it's that. The issue is to make impact. That's one. Number two, we have to keep addressing these things. And I'm very happy, actually. I feel a lot of things are happening. A lot of things are happening. In the last United Nations, where the president spoke, I was very happy. Majority of the African presidents called a spade on what is their problem. Before, we thought it's something like, if you say they kill you, we are not at that level again. The information is out there. You go, you see. So I'm I'm happy with what is happening in the world now. So rather than running into our cocoons, I think we have to put on the pressure. At least open our mouth, communicate, this is right, this is wrong, without being offensive, of course. Institutions, individuals, even as we do a lot from our individual point of view to keep on making a change. When Leslie was talking, I was really consumed, and I said in my heart, how I wish he was a missionary. How I wish he was a missionary, whether married or not, because we have lay missionaries, and living with a missionary group in a mission. You see, he could easily single-handedly transform that community with what he has here. So that, we cannot overlook it, but still we need to keep on putting pressure on those who have power. Like my professor will always say, look at 23 people, bright ideas. We have the ideas, but we don't have power. And if we don't have power, how do we get it into policies? How do we move? How do we make a change? I don't think cowering, because again, I can give example. You can create communities that are environmentally safe, ecological food, everything. But what if the government decides to pass a law and say no? Will you become a freedom fighter? You can take arms, yes? That's one of the options. But you can decide again to run away and go inside the forest more. When will you stop? So I still think that we have to engage. And I don't know what extra systemic intervention is. You're in the system. You only have recognized the problem with the system. I don't, since nobody told me clearly an example of where it has worked, you're in the system. The system is this universe, is this world. The way it is running, that's the way I look at it. You are in the system. There's no need escaping from it. You are in the system. It's either we look for how to do that structural change. And for that, I'm a hopeful. The multinational companies are rich, are powerful, they have everything, but they're not going to have the last say. Insofar as more information is thrown out there, people know what is happening, and people resist in their own way. This is my little contribution. I may not have captured a lot of things that we are going on, but thank you very much. Anyway.
Thank you, Father. That's wonderful. Well said. And I'm wondering how Ronald, Sanjeev, Shandivani, and Mampata will react on your point of view. Ronald.
Good day, everyone. Thank you. I'm in Toronto, Canada. I guess I wanted to just react in part to the work that I guess in terms of what we need to do. And I think Erica has done what I think is most important, is sharing all that is good that is happening now. Because I think if we want to change, people have to see what is possible, and to see what is possible is better than what we have now. So sharing successes of people actually doing things is probably the most important thing to do. I would start there.
Thank you very much, Ronald. Mamata, you can continue. You're next.
Yeah, hi all again. I just wanted to respond a few thoughts that came up in the process. I totally agree that I mean, my take at the precarious state that we are in this state because we are not at one with nature. We do not see the suffering of nature as our own suffering, and that's the reason why there is an unprecedented rate of exploitation. It is true that we need to reconnect our relationship with nature. We need to revisit it. We need to rejuvenate it. That is all good. We need a behavioral change. We need to work with indigenous communities. That is all great. And this work has been going on for years already. For probably a decade or two, we are already working on it, where people are trying to revisit our connection with nature. But still, we haven't reached the place where we ought to reach. We see that there is an unprecedented rate of production of mobiles, electronic gadgets, food, clothes, cars. A lot of goods and services are being produced for no reason. It's just exploitation, and it's all about money and power and keeping the anthropocentrism, wherein we are keeping human beings at the center of the universe. So all these are happening. So unless and until there is a top-down approach to this, the bottom-up approach is not going to work. According to me, there has to be a top-down approach because we don't have enough time. We don't have like 20-30 years also, because the way the temperatures are heating up, and then the heat waves, and if we see, there are extremely harsh winters in USA, there are floods and cyclones, there are extreme events all across the world, and I don't think we can wait 40 to 50 years for us to work in a bottom-up fashion. And that's the reason why the change has to be top-down, according to me. And as an answer to one of the questions which Father Ted was asking, what is an extra systemic action or a reset? According to me, it's an action from God. Okay, I mean, I don't know about atheists, but it's an action from God. The nature and the universe will definitely take action. It's not that we will take action and then the nature or the universe is going to wait for us. Basically, the burden is being borne by the planet. So the nature or the universe, the God will take action, and then that is how the change will come from within us again, so that we can take care of ourselves. So that is an extraterrestrial reset or extra systemic reset, according to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Samantha. And we have Gabriel Barrios. Thank you.
It's been very encouraging, and my heart feels very well to have listened all of you. And thank you, Glenn, to organize this conversation. And I'm a lawyer also in technology and telecom, but after being for so long, 1/3 of my life in this corporate world, I realized was the place I didn't want to be. And I'm Mexican, and it was in the middle of this 40 years of very neoliberal period of my country that fortunately is being a push to try to change. Father, I have to tell you, I disagree with you because really we have the power. I think a good point for this conversation is recognize our own awareness and our own actions. Having been part of the corporate world as our friend, Alexander and others, and having been able to get out, you need courage, guys, because you really move from that system. When you say, Glenn, about system, not system, but we are all in systems, families, countries, etc. But my own disconnection with nature and that awareness make me back to get together with a group of women who started to produce organic food. And being in contact to nature, reconnect with water, with the rain, with essentials, and the pleasure to eat your own food and feeling the energy of that, and learning from even shamans from my country was fascinating. And we started to work with art. And as we also share that idea, the power of art and beauty. And of course, when you are in that, you cannot be part of the greedy system, that system that we pretend, or we are not part of that anymore. Yes, I agree that we produce, Mwangi, lots of things that we don't need, but we are not part of those consumers. And talking about actions, I'm sure all of you are already sharing these experiences with youth. As Maria Elena talked about the legacy, trying to leave a legacy, because we are going to go. Some of us, we are already grandmas, but the talking about actions, observing my own country, I've been learning from the indigenous people, all those survivors of 500 years of colonial actions, like Lacandons, like in Chiapas, Chihuahua, Tarahumaras, Pames, in Huastecas. All those people have a very difficult life because they don't get modern, but they still have this. I mean, it's not as romantic because living in poverty is not that nice, and lots of people, 52 groups of indigenous peoples in my country live in difficult circumstances, but what they have is this social fabric that has not been broken, and I don't see in the modern societies. Nowadays, I live part-time in Mexico City and part-time in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And I keep being a lawyer, human rights, technology, but I'm really a writer. So I also celebrate there is writers in the group. Thank you, Glenn, to organize this.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. Mwangi, we have Mwangi and then Leslie. We want to close team number 3 in about 3 minutes. So we can go over to the closing statements of Glenn and maybe Case also.
Okay, thank you very much for everyone, and you are very valuable and important contributions. And what I may say, because this is something that has been in discussion, is that since the takeover of the global community and economy by capitalism, we have been shown that there are those things that are good, and the media has also played a very big part and role in commodifying everything and showing that, especially with advertisement, that what they are showing is what is best. So some of the indigenous knowledge and some of the indigenous practices have been left behind because people are saying this is backward. What is being advertised, what is being shown is what is in is fashionable. But now we've realized that that is not the entire truth, because some of the things that have been pushed so much in the media are not exactly what they mean, because they're only meant to benefit the people who are pushing them. So for me, what I would say is that one thing is that we need a community of practice whereby some of the successful cases and stories can be told and can be shared, such that when you're going somewhere, you can say that these have been done somewhere and the success rate has been good. Like now, what we are doing in Kenya for reducing the monoculture in some of the products, like in maize and coffee or corn and coffee, is introducing legume fodder cover crop. And these are perennial tropical legume fodder cover crop by the name of Desmodium. So it protects the soil and it has immense ecosystem services. Furthermore, the farmer gets a double product because you have the main crop, but also you harvest fodder for your livestock. And what at the moment we are looking at is how we can be able to go further and transform the Desmodium fodder into pellets. Because when you have it in form of pellets, you're able to have better storage, better transportation, and even better part of the rationing of what you give to the livestock. But now what you look and see in the main market is the commercial livestock feeds are based on grains, basically wheat, maize, and soya. And what you're seeing is that they are monocrops in many areas, and they're leading to a lot of environmental degradation. But when you look at regenerative agriculture, where you're putting climate smart resilience systems, Desmodium legume fodder is among the best options that can save so many people, especially in the tropics, who are suffering from the episodes of climate change impacts. Because today, you find there is rain, tomorrow, extreme drought. So we need to change the narrative such that when you're looking at the cropping systems, is not what has just been pushed and been said that is the one that is more profitable, because we're looking at resilience and climate smart practices. And that's where I would say with Desmodium, it's a sure bet that it works well and it has many benefits, because it's able to reduce weed competition, it's able to reduce some of the pests that are attacking some of those crops. But in addition is that it gives a second revenue source to the farmer.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you very much.
but at
Yes.
the same time, it also gives a second revenue source. So a community of practice where these things can be discussed and can be shared amongst the different practitioners will be best. And if possible, as part of the system, actually, Father Ted has said, if we can be able to have the policies looking at how do you entrench this, how do you have demonstrations and training so that people can know that, yes, you have been having this monoculture system, but it's not the best. Can we have a different system that works better and has better performance? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Moran. Thank you very much. We have about 3 people left. And based on the time, I will give everybody 1 minute. Leslie, Erica, and Maria at final. Leslie,
Okay, can you hear me?
completely. Yes.
Okay. First of all, I just want to thank Glenn for pulling this off. And I just want to say, what a miracle it is that we have Zoom for people from all over the world to participate in this venue. And it makes me feel more empowered to see that people care.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you, Leslie.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Erica, we quickly run over because we are waiting for what Glenn has to say about all your contributions, which is a lot, and we noted them all down. Very wonderful. Erica?
Okay. I just wanted to touch on something that I think really needs improvement. And I don't know, as far as other countries, but in America, we have very compartmentalized things. So, for example, food has been separated from health. And, over the years, that's gotten better, but needs to, still keep going in that direction. But I feel like we have this culture of division. Whereas like in the communities that I was speaking of, everyone is seeking the good of the other person. And you want the other person to succeed as much as you do. You don't want to leave people behind. So the other thing is that you have this multi-generational environment where, children to grandparents are all together. And I think that's really important. I had but yeah, I just wanted to mention those two things.
Very much. Thank you very much. Maria, you will be the last one.
Thank you. Well, first of all, the question was, what are the social forces that can bring about change and how can they be galvanized into action for a reset? I have 5 points that I would like to share with you. First of all, sorry, why don't we think about let's use systemic forces and use them as an enabling condition to shift and position ourselves above the wave. What I mean about that is that, for example, we have the sustainable goals of United Nations, and I have given a lot of thought about that. And this bring a movement of people that are already in that channel. That doesn't mean that we have to be with United Nations doing things through United Nations or through our governments. That means that people have changed their minds, that we need to have those sustainable goals. So what about going through that mainstreaming thought and try to bring all those people to our movement? That brings me to the second point. That's awareness movement to rescue our future. I mean, all of you have been sharing about a lot of ideas that are in this mainstreaming of rescuing our future. But are we in the emergency channel? I don't know. I think that we need an awareness movement, not for emergency, but to really to rescue our future and to have a strategic planning to do that rescuing of our future. Third, we need knowledge management communities of practice to rescue our future. That means share knowledge of things that are pragmatic and that are proven that they will have the agency to change things in the right way. Fourth, we need to think big. And big needs to think about social policies that are looking up to rescue our future, that are looking up to pilot and demonstrate how we can rescue our future. And these social policies need to be taken in the international forum, in the national forum, and also in the local way. And fifth, Well, we need to think in our everyday life. We need to have sustainable life models and to start doing little things. Small is beautiful. We need to do little things every day, and we need to rescue our future every day. So why don't we make these sustainable life models that can be shared and that can bring inspiration of how this can make the synergy that we need. And last of all, maybe we are not going to make it. But like Gabby said, in Sustainable Legacy, we are thinking about that. If the boat is to be sinking, well, at least make all our treasure ideas to survive for the next, I don't know if there will be a next generation. I believe yes. We need to treasure those beautiful ideas that all shared today.
Wonderful, wonderful said. I'm giving the floor back to Glenn because he started this wonderful journey. Glenn, Kees, say Hamerling, you want to say anything? Or is Kees our writer?
Maybe say something first.
Yes, Kees.
Well, I'm not only a writer, I fortunately can also speak. I'm very grateful for what you were doing today, all of you, and particularly to Glenn, because you belong to the community of people who don't give up. And if you live long enough, like I do, then through more than 60 years, you've been through all of this. So in a way, it's a bit of deja vu. But the marvel of the 60s is, I remember, when we stood on the barricades in Paris and Berkeley and Amsterdam, we were not going to give up. We were going to transform the world. And then, of course, you notice that it's not so easy. So in the 70s, we had a great hope that we could totally transform the world. And then in the 80s, due to this strange duo of the neoliberalism, Thatcher and Reagan, it was all dismantled. But some of us never give up. And the discussion today reminds me very much of a recent correspondent, but a good old friend who never gives up, Noam Chomsky. Noam said one day to me, we have to choose, says, between despair and optimism. Because we have to be optimists, because that's our moral responsibility. Otherwise, everything comes to an end. And I said to Noam, no, I believe we have to combine them. We should not choose between despair and optimism. So I call myself a desperate optimist. And I heard a lot of desperate optimism today. We've got to be optimists that we can change, that we have the power of imagination, as we believed in the 1960s, to change this world. But we should also be realistic. We live in an avalanche of despair. I lived through the Cold War and through the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we've never been closer to nuclear war than now. We're much closer to it than in the Cold War. So there's a lot of things to be desperate about. But why we can't hang on to the despair is because of the next generation. I was very happy that also Erica mentioned this intergenerational meeting, and I would think that if we have another meeting like this, we should invite kids, because many of us, and certainly I belong to those, are already on their way to the exit. I mean, I see this little sign, exit, salida. It's almost over. But that's why we need to listen to the young generation. We need to involve kids, because they need more than anyone else in this world. They need our optimism. They need our hope. Because when you teach, like I do all over the world, to groups of young kids in the early 20s, often with very little prospect of a happy life, often very depressed, certainly after the Corona crisis, often very suicidally inclined, they need to be given hope. They need to be given a perspective that we are capable of transforming this world. But we need to be realistic. We need to realize, and let me conclude with that as a human species, we are a very strange combination of two primates. Our DNA is shared by the chimpanzees and by the bonobos. The chimpanzees are fearful, anxious, and very violent animals. The bonobos are happily living in a matriarchal society, and they make not war, but they make love to solve problems. So what I can only say at this end, let's liberate ourselves from the chimpanzees. And I wish all of you for a lot more bonobo moments in our lives. And please never forget, as Jorge Borges once wrote, every day has its moments of paradise. So let's enjoy more moments of paradise. And thanks, Glenn, for taking this initiative. And thank you, Ronald, for moderating this in such a marvelous way. And thank all of you. I'm the chair of the board of the Rescue Our Future Foundation. And in the name of our foundation, thank you all very much for your marvelous contributions. Thank you. Be well.
Glenn.
Okay, so I just listened to the tip of the iceberg because I realized that you had so many things, all of you had so many things to share, and you could only do that in a couple of minutes. But I could feel in the intonation of your voice and what you want to say that there's more that you have to share. And it's only just a quick thing. So I cannot react on all these wonderful, I learned a lot, and I cannot react on all the things that I agree with, that I kind of put a question mark. But let me just pick one or two elements, because that is one thing what was in this. It's a question of extra-systemic. The first thing, extra-systemic doesn't mean that we are in a vacuum. We are talking about a dominant system that has a capacity to reproduce itself almost eternally and do the wrong things and to bring us to disaster. That's what we're talking about. And if we talk about that system, the question is, can that system bring a solution from within? And the answer is, for me, no. Of course, you don't have to abandon the system. You have to write in the press. You have to use all the niches to make things better. But the idea that we can reform the system from within is the reason why we have been losing the battle, and we are losing it even more, and we are heading for the abyss of oblivion. That's what we do. This is not something, has nothing to do with pessimism. It's just a fact. And we have to realize that if we continue to try to reform the system from within while its basic structure and anatomy stays intact, we will go on 50 years doing exactly the same. So that is that problem of the issue of extra-systemic. It's about, we need a reset, an overhaul, a metamorphosis, or we go for extinction. That's a very harsh, far-going statement. But that is my conclusion of 30 work of, I would say, full-time work when I was writing Quest to Rescue Our Future. Plus, really full-time, because it's a big issue. And so that's one thing. Now, you have a system to live in hell, and you want to transform hell while the devil is bringing more coal. That's what you're doing. You have to realize that it is good to try to reform everything, but you will not be successful. It takes a big leap from where we are to realize, wait a minute, humanity has gone astray. One of the conclusions of my book, when I got it, I had to rewrite a lot again because it was a new word, is that modern civilization has failed as a project for humanity. And I would say, can bring no solution from within. Well, that's a big thing. I mean, that's really far going. But I think that's what's going on. That means that we have to look at how this system, a predatory system, maintains itself. Let me give one or two examples. We talk about consumerism. I don't like that idea that we blame the victim for what is going on. This is profiteerism. It's a system based on profit, making more profit. We are waiting for the next trillionaire, and then we blame these people who use a lot of their product. They are tricked into research. They have propaganda, advertising to let them use. A young boy or young girl has to buy a new iPhone, otherwise no peer will look at him or her. He's forced to do so to survive as a young person. You buy clothes that you throw your clothes and buy other ones because they are good, but they don't comply with fashion. So our grandfather had a car went for 30 years. And with modern technology, now we don't go further than 10 years. What's going on? we need a system, a different system, where the basis is not profit, but to satisfy the genuine needs. Because you don't produce for needs, you produce for profit. So that means you have to break that system up. How? That's the next story. But you cannot have that system that works for profit and then you think that you will reach something. There is no energy crisis, because if we produce the things we want and your iPhone goes for 10 years, they change the software, but they leave the hardware, and your car runs for 30 years like your grandfather car did, then we will need only 25% of the energy that we use now, because the energy is not used to satisfy needs, but to satisfy profit, but to create billionaires and trillionaires. In my world, it should be a crime and forbidden to be a billionaire, because 999 million is more than enough. People look at you, they wait for the trillionaire. Okay, it's fine, that's our system. Well, I don't want a system where somebody is a trillionaire who has more money than 50 countries. So we have to realize that we are trapped in a system and that we have to break it. There's another thing I tell you. Change the world and begin with yourself. It sounds good, but I don't like it. Why? Tell the slaves in slavery, slaves, change the world and begin with yourself, while slavery is continuing. That's the trick of the system. They blame the victim and they tell you have to change. It is good to plant. I have a green garden. I have 30, 40, more than 40 trees in a dry island only on my small territory of 1,000 meters. I'm a nature man. I do it. But I know that will not solve the problem. So that means that while you do the good things and you live in a good way, you have to realize that the system has mechanism to keep the system going, and they tell you, hey, you have to don't throw plastic, and they produce more plastic, and you can go on and on. So if you don't change a system, a predatory system, for which nature is an enemy, nature is barbaric. So the barbarity of nature is there, and the civilization, which is the real barbarity. So when I realized that modern civilization failed as a project, I came to another conclusion. The very idea of civilization is problematic. If you understand civilization, our capacity to dominate nature, to modify nature, and to change nature for our benefit as a human being, it's a highly anthropocentric concept that we should not accept. Now, and I like the comments by Sandra about, and Jacob wrote something in it, and all others about this indigenous way of life. I'm now in a big project in Suriname called Living in Harmony in Nature in the Most Forested Country. Suriname is the most forested country. It's 93%, and it's carbon negative. And it is threatened by large-scale agriculture, mining gold, a lot of gold and oil, and they will destroy it. So we made a group at all the indigenous organizations, tribal organizations, intellectuals, NGOs, and we want to prove with a big research that we can go for the extractive economy, but there's an alternative economy living in harmony with nature. And now that we calculate that billions can be produced by carbon credits, ecotourism. So we made that project to show that's an alternative. I think that, and that means we'll challenge the system, which will be a happy thing. So getting back to that extra system, I think the solution for humanity is extra systemic. We have to break out of that hell that they put on us, and they control, and they have all the mechanisms of system maintenance to do so. And we have to break it. I'm not talking about out of the box thinking, not even that, because out of the box thinking still takes the box as the reference. The box is the box is there, and you are. I forget about nutrient something. You don't fight the bad weed. Plant your new tree, and that tree will overgrow the bad weed, and then you have a different thing. So we have to mobilize what I call the moral reserves of humanity. It's only for us to have recognized and all the spirituals that can do something. People like we, with all our differences and our agreement, because it's not about agreeing. And tomorrow I disagree with myself, since I don't know exactly what, but I'm open for, like you, for something. So I think we have to reflect about that. It is not about amending the system, not what would not to pollute and so, but we have to replace the system. If we don't do that, with mathematical precision, we will go to extinction. All these cognitive and these funny things and climate things, they're waste of time. Very good things, but it does not go to the cost. So while we'll do everything to be the best participant in the planet, we have to realize that we have to change that monstrous predatory system. Otherwise, we are programmed for extinction with mathematical precision. So I like this meeting very much because just most of you I met not live, but on writing and so. And it is only the tip of the iceberg. We don't have to agree on law. There's some common ground we feel, that solidarity, but a lot to do. So we'll have to see whether we can think about a more quiet and continuation or direct. Each one of you can write me personally. You have my email, I send it. You have my email, by the way, and then you got the application. And we can see this is not, let me be clear on one point, which is one of the big disturbing things of progressive movement. Always when they start the move, they won't take the lead. They are the artist. They are the person who wrote the book. No, that's not about that. Dialogue is not about that. Nobody should try to take authorship, leadership, because it is I will become a we. And if we can do that, then there's a chance. If we don't do that, then we get the same. People ask me, but who will lead? And nobody will lead. They don't understand. Even in politics, I have my idea about that famous saying that comes, way of life that comes from Mexico. Gobernar obedeciendo. You have to govern obediently, not as a slogan, but as a model. And I'm working on that also. So I want to thank all of you, and maybe we can, we can hang out a bit if you have nothing to go on, and you can make a comment because sorry that it was so small, but I had the choice. If I make it longer, people have no time. If I make it shorter, it's not good. So 2 hours was, I thought, what we could do. So let's see what you have to say as a final thought. Thank you.
Anyone, please? You can. This was a wonderful 2 hours. We are 8 minutes past 6 in the Netherlands right now, but I respect everybody's time, everybody's contribution. It was wonderful. Glenn said it already. Very enjoyable. Kees also said it, and we have been there. We are not we're not falling yet. Let's say. I like also what Kitty said, and I like everything I heard, and I'm very motivated to continue. And we need the youth. We are all, I guess, above 50. Let's say above 50. 50 years of age. Baby Kitty is the youngest one of all, if I'm looking at the pictures. Kitty has her hands up. Kitty, go on.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to recite something of that one of our Suriname's freedom fighters said, because I think it applies very much here and resonates with everything everyone has said. And this was a man by the name of Anton de Kom. He was a freedom fighter in the 30s in Suriname, and he also lived for some time in Holland, and at some later time he was even banned to there. But at some point he wrote a book, and the thing that always stuck with me that he wrote was the most important thing in our fight is that formidable word that I learned abroad in Holland, of course. And that was, he said, organization. He was astounded by the level of organization of, that went on in Holland, colonial power. And I think that is precisely what we need to do, and we are doing at this very moment. The only thing is, indeed, it has been said, we need to find new ways of connecting, breaking the silos, breaking borders, connecting different disciplines at all different levels. And I think we're making a good start today. So thank you all, and thank you, Glenn. And hopefully to speak and see you in the very near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Kitty. I had also Father Ted. He raised his hand.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Glenn, it's wonderful hearing you again. These days you are sounding more philosophical. You are sounding more and more philosophical. But this is this. If not, I would have. It looked like your definition or understanding of extra systemic is almost like St. Anselm's definition of God as the greatest conceivable being. The solution is in the definition. But leave that aside, I still believe that if we succeed in making a change, and if anything succeeds in changing the system, that thing will happen to be what we call extra systemic. That is the way I have understood your use of the word extra systemic. I am happy, but again, I want you to look at me as an African. The discussion is so much into environment, this, that, this. But remember, a lot of people are into extreme situations that are talking about their life. Politics, power is what is moving the world, and there are the rabbits and there are the rats. So sometimes somebody, an African, say, "Why is this a talk show? This is just a talk show." When more serious things are happening elsewhere, I accept that. The environment, we have to care, the food we eat, and all those things. But the issue of Glenn, you are correct. It's not like entering a cocoon and say, "I'm happy there." No. And if you say that, you have to engage. And engage is either you institute a different system or you change the system. That is the way I look at it.
Okay.
So that we don't remain so much theoretical. We don't remain so much theoretical. But how do you handle the emergent problem? Okay, of late now, they are at the center. Okay, we are on the verge of submitting a proposal. They were asking for what do we call it? A baseline study. And the baseline study, the title is "My Food is African." We were interested because it's a study that touches the whole of Africa, zoned with special countries that we have to pick, so that the people will stop eating junk and go back to the original traditional food of the Africans that are very healthy. And so that we don't allow our markets to be accepting all this nonsense and canned food that is killing our people. So how do you not handle such things in such big way in order to save the people? To start a community and start teaching them, start another community, start teaching them. Is that extra systemic? You still have to engage the system. You still have to make effort to make sure that we keep on correcting. And the way I look at it, rather than thinking of boom, you will get it immediately. No, you take whatever you get, you take. Whatever you get, you take. And let's say if somebody like Glenn is the president of a country now, then he gradually starts changing the system. That makes sense to me. That's the way I look at it. It makes sense to me. I am sorry, but I don't enter things without being so passionate about it. I don't know how to go halfway.
Okay, no, thank you very
Thank
much,
you very
Mario.
much.
Thank you very much. I have Maria Elena and Marta, the final two thoughts on today meeting. Maria and Marta. Maria.
Thank you. I was just going through all your messages in the chat, and I read one that made me think. Are we just another great organization, or are we a unique organization? And really, I have been going through analyzing different missions, different organizations, different objectives, different projects. And I have working with Rescuing Our Future is the one organization that is really thinking about, well, a very unique mission. And that brings me of how can we identify this movement? How can we know if we are going to engage with this mission? What is the pathway to engage with this mission? What do I need to know to engage in this mission? See, so I would like to see that, because I would not, as long as I've been enjoying this meeting with you, I would not like to be another meeting.
No.
I would like to be the place where I find solutions.
Okay, wonderful here. I hear you very much, Maria. Based on the time, this is why my comment was on this post. Action is the best prediction, so we need action. And I will speak with Glenn and other people about this. What is the next step after this meeting? Our final thought by Mamata, and then we have to close the official part, the recording.
Yeah, thanks, Reynold. And actually, thanks to Glenn for this platform, for bringing all the similar thinking minds together. Thanks for this opportunity wherein we could present our thoughts. I'm sure all of us are here with great intentions, good intentions, great intentions. I also hope that we follow it up with good deeds as well, because intentions without actions don't really count in the long run. So I am really looking forward to the follow of this meeting. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. On behalf of Glenn and the board of this Rescue Our Foundation, Rescue Our Future, I want to thank you all